Hi, lollies. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda's channel. Thank you for all the love and support. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload videos, you'll be the first person to be notified. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of ours, you guys are the real MVP. So nowadays, I came across this video on my For You, and I thought to share where black people are all out to talk about how black sacrifices is actually needed to change the country. Like, people are only waiting when people that looks like me sacrifice. That's only when a change might happen. I'm just going to roll a clip as well as some of other stitches I was able to put together. Please leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video, and please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational and informative purposes.
After the April 5th protest and its poor performance, I am 100% convinced that the only way this country can change is by black sacrifice. Think about it. Each time that this country has went through a critical change in society is always because of the sacrifice of black people. The 13 colonies wouldn't have won the Revolutionary War if it wasn't for the help of the French and the promise to give African slaves their freedom. Civil War, self-explanatory. Hundreds of thousands of Africans signed up to join the Union Army to liberate their family and friends from slavery. The creation of the Kpeple after the Union soldiers was removed from the South. This caused an unprecedented bloodbath and genocide amongst black people. Throughout the years, millions of black people were unalived by their reign. Some was even forced and put back into slavery. Nat Turner's revolt in 1831, a slave rebellion striking fear all across Virginia, furthering restrictions on enslaved people. Nat Turner's revolt in 1831, a slave rebellion striking fear all across Virginia and the hearts of those slave leaders. And that's one of the reasons why the black population of Virginia is so massive, especially to this day. It's because Nat Turner's and those slave rebellions that spread all across Virginia was fighting for their freedom. A Reconstruction of 1865, the 14th Amendment that grants every person equal protection under the law. The 15th Amendment granting African American men the right to vote, and even then thousands of men had to die in order to keep and receive that amendment in the first place. Once again, like I said before, the only reason why this country was able to change in the first place was because of black sacrifice and black blood. What's next? The NAACP was founded in 1909 in order to help black people fight for civil rights. Harlem Renaissance in 1920, a flourishing of African American art and literature all over Harlem. Great Migration from 1916 through 1970, millions of African Americans fled to the north from the south, which is one of the reasons why so many northern states and cities are so prosperable to this day. That includes the West as well. Because let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, the West was also considered a neutral and or a northern state during the Civil War. African Americans in World War II. Need I say it anymore? African Americans during the Vietnam War. Need I say it anymore? Black people were not just heroes towards each other, but to other people of color residing in the United States and to the world around us. Millions upon millions of black people sacrifice our blood for this country, to the change for this country, but not just for the country, but to the world as well. The Philippines, Vietnam, Mexico, Canada, Thailand, China, South Korea, Japan, France, England, Germany, the list goes on. Black people fought for freedom and equality all over the country and the world. And we did all of that without asking for nothing in return. And what do we get in return? Nothing. Not a damn thing in the end. Every person of color who's walking around with their freedom, their rights, and the right to own a business and say whatever the hell they want, they able to have that because of us. And yet they look at us with such disdain in their hearts. 2020, the reason why we made so much progress is because black blood was spilled. And here we are again, 2025, after April 5th, the reason why nothing is being done or nothing is being changed, why there's no news coverage, why there's no battle scars on any of these white protesters, is because black blood was not spilled. It's because no black person was sacrificed. Now here they are at these protests, making bouncy houses, having cookouts, selling t-shirts, and putting it on their vlog for content. People are treating these protests like it's a goddamn festival. So I'll say this one more time. This country will not change without black blood or sacrifice. That has to stop. That has to change. They need to make the change for themselves. And if they don't, their country will fall. And us black people, we will come out on top and we will migrate where we feel belong, where we are loved, where we are welcomed. We've been fighting for far too long. And when we try to tell you to not vote for this orange cracker, you still did it anyway. Now, so many white people who voted for this man are now regretting it, switching sides, especially those self-hating black people like Candace Owens, saying we made a mistake and now we need to unite and be better. Like we didn't try to tell you that the first time. Now, here we are again in 2025, black people and other people of color, including fucking Asians and women, are getting their rights taken away. That's how it works, doesn't it? Without black sacrifice, this country will not spin or change. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, the April 5th protest was absolutely meaningless, pointless. That's all I have to say on the matter. It's Onyx, and I'm gone.
Poor white people should know that they're voting against their best interests. Poor white people need to see the light, that voting for rich billionaires doesn't help them. They see the light. They know what they're doing. They know that they're voting against their interests. They know, and they don't care. They're angry and upset that their whiteness has not saved them from the doldrums of being poor, and they know in the depths of their poor white souls that they do not have the skills, the ambition, or the smarts to survive in a world that requires all of those things to not be poor. Let me tell you something right here, right now. Poor black people and poor people of color become disillusioned and, become jaded. That's it. Poor white people become domestic terrorists and mass shooters. This is why our efforts to build bridges, to build community, to reach across the aisle, to do all of those things fail time and time again, because we're dealing with a group of individuals who know that they have experienced generations of life-altering poverty as the result of actions from other white people who are wealthy and privileged. They know good and goddamn well that black people just got the right to vote less than 60 years ago. So it's not black people, and it's certainly not immigrants and people of color who are making the policy and legislative decisions that render poor white people poor. It's not black people and people of color making those policy decisions. It's other white people, privileged, college-educated white people who are making those decisions. And poor white people know this. Fundamentally, they know this. They are just that full of hate and insist upon directing their hate towards black people and towards people of color, because at their core, they're racist no matter what. That's what you have to understand about white supremacy and about many, 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 many white people in general. No matter how disenfranchised they may be on the basis of income, on the basis of lack of education, on the basis of disability, on the basis of neurodivergence, on the basis of LGBTQ status, whatever it is, they're still white, and they will still cling to that white privilege especially when they have no other privileges or systems of power with which to cling. That is why trying to build community and solidarity with many poor white people, especially in rural areas, falls short. Even when there are poor white people who see the vision, who see the light, and who try to rally their Caucasian brothers and sisters in arms, those poor white people who see the vision, they're vastly outnumbered, outgunned, outmanned by these other poor white folks who sit up there with generations of rural poverty and vote for someone like Donald Trump. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So while we're thinking about this conversation about how disingenuous poor white people are and how they continue to cut off their nose to spite their face when it comes to their voting records, I want you to also think about something else from a feminist perspective. Black women and women of color, listen up, this is for us. In doing some research, I realized that there are some connections between American history and the timeline of women's rights in this country. I want you to think about the time during which the women's suffragist movement here in the United States became popular and achieved widespread popularity. That happened around the 1840s and the 1850s. Bear in mind, the women's suffragist movement in the US was spearheaded primarily by Caucasian white women. Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, right, are the most well-known figures of that movement, right? 1840s, 1850s, right? Coincidentally, the abolitionist movement to abolish slavery in the United States began picking up mainstream, widespread support around that same time, the 1840s and the 1850s, right? These are estimates. I'm generalizing here for the purposes of this hot take. So I just want you to walk with me, right? Nothing in American history happens by coincidence. It is not at all a coincidence that white feminists in the 1840s and 1850s looked around at the landscape and observed that if abolitionist movements were achieving widespread support and popularity, then that would mean enslaved black women would no longer be enslaved and would thus be one step closer to achieving the same or similar status as white women who were never enslaved, right? Because enslavement was not just a physical thing, it was a tool of oppression, a generational tool of oppression. Anyone born to an enslaved person was automatically enslaved. Black women no longer being enslaved meant that they were free and meant that they would have power, control, and autonomy similar or akin to what Caucasian women had at the same time. Again, I'm generalizing here because I also understand that while Caucasian women were not enslaved, they also experienced oppression through the forms of various institutional and systemic means, right? They didn't have the right to vote, own property, divorce spouses, so on and so forth. And of course, this is a long time before abortion even entered the conversation. So again, I'm generalizing, but nonetheless, I don't think it's a coincidence. Especially when you factor in figures like Susan B. Anthony, who was on record as saying she would rather cut off her own arm before she ever advocated for the Negro vote. Let's not forget that. Let's bake that into this conversation. It is not at all coincidental that white feminists at the time began pushing for their right to vote along the same time that enslaved black women were going to achieve freedom and achieve support from mainstream white society in obtaining that freedom. That is not coincidence at all. And if you don't believe me, I want you to draw a parallel between that timeline and our timeline today, right? I want you to draw a parallel between that timeline and the data from the exit polls of the most recent US presidential election. It's my humble opinion in this country that the swing voters are actually white women. The swing voters are actually Caucasian women, not any other group of people, because let's be honest with ourselves. We know how white men are generally going to vote. We always know how black men and women are going to vote. People of color can be swing voters, but because they are still in the statistical minority here in the United States, the degree with which they swing doesn't have as large a bearing on the outcome of elections as black and white voters do, right? So then that leaves white women. White women are the real swing voters. And again, don't argue with me. Argue with the data from the exit polls. Argue with the statistics and the cold, hard numbers and facts. Look to the 2024 presidential election. Look to the 2020 presidential election. Look to the 2016 presidential election. We've been having these conversations for going on 10 years now. I personally thought when I saw that Nikki Haley was running against Trump to be the Republican presidential candidate, I thought she would have gotten it. I'm not going to lie. I actually genuinely, maybe foolishly believed that she would have cinched the nomination because I said, well, okay, white women aren't going to vote for Kamala because they're still racist. They wouldn't vote for Hillary because Hillary's a Democrat, but Nikki Haley's a Republican woman. She's right up there with them and the conservatives and stuff. Surely they'll, finally put to use all of their language about girl boss feminism bullshit, right? Wrong. I was wrong. I was so wrong. And I'll readily admit that. And yes, hindsight vision is always 20/20, but there's still something to be said about that. So I want us to think about that, and I want us as black women and women of color to never forget the different intersections that our identities live at. We're women, but because we're black, we don't receive support from mainstream white women who are still the statistical majority in terms of population and demographics, right? Sometimes we don't receive support from other women of color, right? We've had that conversation too. We're black, but because we're women, we're still kind of one rung beneath black men because America is not just a white supremacist system. America is a white patriarchal supremacist system, right? So I want us as black women and women of color to remember all the intersectionalities that we live at. Shout out to Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw. Remember all the intersectionalities we live at, all of the different identities we occupy. And I want people to remember and note that while black women are sometimes in conflict with our various marginalized identities, our voting record still stands. We always still side with the right side of history and with the right candidates who advocates for demarginalization for all people. Let that Let that sit with you, that no matter how conflicted we are as black women and women of color with how we're marginalized on all fronts, nonetheless, our voting record still shines brightly compared to everybody fucking else. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Being a colonizer and being worried about somebody else's behavior, being the fucking stain, global fucking stain on humanity, because colonizers, the only thing that's different about them really is location. They all do the same shit, right? Rape, murder, pillage, terrorize, steal. Yeah, those are the behaviors of colonizers. So when colonizers come in contact with black people, yes, our reaction is usually the same. Get your fucking hands off my shit. Now, there is some differences, some variations in black people. Some black people turn the other cheek. I'm not that black person. I want my goddamn pound of flesh. I'll take that right eye too, because it's offensive. And your book says if your right eye offends you, pluck it out. I don't need anyone to pluck it out for me, though. I prefer to do it myself. How's that for behavior? Yeah. These conversations would be so much more interesting face to face, though, don't you think?
And whatsoever this dude that teaches video is talking about how black sacrifice, black struggle are the only thing needed to make everything right. If you think about it properly, I think it's actually true. It actually takes the sacrifice of someone that looks like me to make things work. Just look at all of the struggle from beginning to the end. It takes black people sacrifice, black anything. When they see that you come out, when they see that, oh, something has been done that's have to curse maybe a little bit people that look like me, that is when things are going to change. That is when things are going to be done. And this is just what everything right now is giving. This is why even if black are standing on business and so many other people are out there protesting, so many kind colored people protested, the April 1st, the April 5th, and every other protest, it is just giving everything is still the same way it is. It is not giving change at all. It's not giving things are going to improve. It's just as if these people just goes out there to just rant and come back and every other thing continues. And it's giving, we are waiting for the people whom we are waiting for to actually do something. That is when we know, or that is when we think that things are going to work out. And this is just it. This is just it. Black people have been standing on business, have been laying low, and things are still getting worse and worse each and every passing day. Things are getting worse. The only thing that other people does is to come out, rant, blah blah blah. It's as if they're just waiting for, oh, the men people to come out. We want them to go out to the streets. We want to cause havoc. We want to do something. And that is when this black sacrifice comes in. And that is when I saw this stage and this guy talking about it. I really had a very deep thought about it. And I was like, that is it. That is the truth. It actually takes people that looks like me to fight, to sacrifice, to do one or two things before any change can happen. And now that they are not doing nothing, and now that they are all home resting, and now that they do not want to get themselves involved, it's as if things are just the way it is. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to do nothing because nobody is ready to do something very tremendously to change things, to change the narratives. And to the other stitch I put up here, talking about the white people and how they just like their situation the way it is. So far, the person in power is someone that is like them. Also, I see 100% truth in that. It's not as if these dudes do not know that they are going to go through everything that they are going through right now. They know that things are so bad. They're going to, go through a lot, but they still do not care about it. Even if they are suffering, even if they cannot even afford things, like, they still do not care about it. They still believe that their self being the person that they are is still going to save them one way or the other. They have not really seen the reality in front of them. They are ready to sacrifice everything so far to put the rich folks out there without even minding that at the end of the day you are getting nothing. But they never mind anyways. They never mind. Like, there is this video I saw. I tried as much as I can to look for that stitch to put up here. This lady, who happens to be a pan-colored woman, explained in details on how these rich white folks use them as poor white folks as a match to fight people that looks like me. Then the only thing that they benefit from these other people is just some little things. They just try to tell you that, oh my god, okay, you are like me, you are you are better than these people because you are like me, without even them realizing that these guys are using them as a wage, as as an instrument. Anyway, lovelies, why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We're just here for educational and informative purposes. And to my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, that leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us, thank you so much for all the love and support. And I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one. Thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational and informative purposes. So if you've not subscribed to this channel, do your girl a huge favor to click on the subscription button, like, and I'll see you lovelies when I upload the next one.